This is a one-speaker meeting. Please welcome our speaker tonight, Shadoe.
My name is Shadoe Stevens. I am a polychronic addictionalist. I'd like to start with a healing breath. Can everyone take a deep breath? Forced laugh. Ha 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 ha. No real laughs. One more time. Ha 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 ha. You know, it wasn't always that funny. And you know what else? I'm what they call an old-timer. So I feel the need to speak with a wheeze and cough up phlegm. So every once in a while I may, just to be able to speak clearly. I'll apologize now. I didn't really have an excuse for being a drug addict. I don't have anyone to blame. And it might be a little bit of an indication that perhaps there's no one for us to blame. It's like a disease, it's an affliction, it's a problem that we have that not everybody has. But I didn't have any of this. I grew up in Jamestown, North Dakota. Little tiny town, and my parents didn't drink, smoke, use drugs, curse, fight in front of us. I was not prepared for the real world. My parents owned toy stores, clothing stores, fireworks stands, go-kart tracks. We put on the fireworks displays for the town in the street next to where we lived, the best. It was magical. Now, you'd think that I'd be really fairly sane. Well, here's what happened. My dad went through World War II without taking a drink. I mean, they gave fifths every week to everyone just for being there. And he would trade them for, Jeeps. There was a big demand for alcohol in World War II. And my dad had a lot of enthusiasm. So my one best trait is enthusiasm, and I got that from my dad. And he always said, "What do you want to drink for? Makes you slow and stupid." So I grew up with that, and it didn't occur to me to drink until my senior year in high school, and everybody did it. And so after football season, we decided we would just tie one on, with our girlfriends and go out to the lake cottage. And I made the mistake of starting with orange vodka. And I did projectile vomiting for about 6 hours. I didn't like alcohol. Alcohol didn't appeal to me. It was like, what do you want to do that for? It's so stupid. So I wanted to come to California to go to art center school. I was accepted out here to go to art center school, and I came out here with my parents, and I discovered something. Everyone in California was cool, and they all knew that I wasn't. They all knew, yeah, it's a hick from North Dakota. You can't see him coming, So I never mentioned coming to California again. I obediently went off to the University of North Dakota, and even that was traumatic for me. It was very, very difficult. I had this close family, 5 kids, this, magical childhood, and all of a sudden I'm being thrust into the real world. So I joined a fraternity. And it was kind of the Animal House fraternity. It was the party house. And I wanted, like a family around me, and so I just wanted to fit in. That's what I really wanted to do, is just fit in. So when they had their big parties like Shipwreck and Breakdown, I participated in the keg parties, and I'd drink, but it never occurred to me to drink any other time. Didn't care, just didn't do it. Guy even gave me, a California guy, gave me 2 lids of grass, 2 bags. Remember lids? And he said, I don't want to get caught. So I had him in my apartment, and I kept them in my underwear drawer for a year. Never occurred to me to indulge. Why would you do that? Drugs, ew. So in my 4th year of college, I went to the University of Arizona. I gained enough self-worth to step out into the big time, and I went to Tucson, and it was really the big city to me. It was like so great, a great campus, and I was on the radio there and doing really well and going to school full time. And my friend said, you got to try some herb. It's a plant. It's not like it leads to heroin. So I showed up at their place. And they had black lights and posters, fluorescent posters, and a $5,000 sound system, biggest sound system I ever saw in my life. And they had a hookah, a giant hookah in the middle of the floor. I've never seen a hookah. I'm like this guy from North Dakota. What do I know about a hookah? He says, just draw on this. So I went, blip, 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 blip. Well, that was easy, because I'm not a smoker, I don't smoke. Anything. Blip, 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 blip. All of a sudden, the music got louder. The music got louder and moved in the ceiling. The ceiling expanded and everything was moving with me. I was a part of the music. I could see it in colors, and I went, oh, now I understand what you've been trying to tell me. It's like trying to explain the color blue to a blind man. It's like trying to explain the ocean to somebody who's never seen water. It's experiential. I'm so thirsty. So I bought my first ounce. And within a month, I bought my first pound. Then I moved to Boston. I had a bigger job in Boston. Life was moving on, and it was very exciting. So by this time, I smoked grass every day. And in Boston, my friend who was going to the Boston music school said, we got high every day to listen to music. It was great. And he said, you want to do some acid? What's acid? Well, it's like grass, except it's more intense and it lasts longer. Cool. So, I like to tell the whole backstory here, so I hope you bear with me, because I hate it when people with a lot of time get up and pontificate and tell you what it's like to be sober, and what all the secrets are, and what kind of day they had. Shut up and tell the goddamn story. I want to hear how bad it got, and I want to hear it over and over again. I want to hear all the nuances. I want to hear the horrors of it. I want to hear every nook and cranny of nastiness. So I'm going to tell that to you. My first trip in Boston was double parked on Beacon Hill. I was in a little car like a tiny Honda Civic. It was called an Austin America. An awful car. Now, we had dropped the acid, and I didn't know what to expect. I thought it was just like, it's like grass, more intense and lasts longer. Okay, so I'm sitting, and I'm sitting in the driver's seat, and my friends go to get donuts. And while I'm holding on to the steering wheel, things began to pulse. It was, I don't know who I am. Oh, God, my hands. My friends are skipping down the street in slow motion, laughing. Get in the car. Get in the goddamn, what is this shit? What? Now, you would think that a really, really bad experience would lead a sane person to go, I'm never doing that again. No. I came to California a year later, And by that time, we did psychedelics every weekend and grass every day. Now I had an even bigger job. I'm here in the big time and the big radio stations, and things are really big. And I've got a lot of responsibilities. A one-armed man said to me, "You know, you've got a lot of responsibilities. You should see my doctor, Dr. Lax." Sounds like something out of Iron Man, doesn't it? Evil Dr. Lax sat in his bulbousness. 300 pounds of Dr. Lax sat on La Cienega Boulevard, and he looked down his gigantic midsection and said, "Well, you had Dexedrine last month. How about Black Beauties?" "Okay, excellent, Dr. Lax." You know, since I've been seeing you, I've really been getting a lot done. I've really got a lot of responsibilities, got a lot of things I have to do, a lot of writing. Sometimes I have to work through the night. Sometimes I have to just keep going through the whole week, and I just can't stop because I've got a lot of responsibilities. You know, I've got a lot of things I have to do, and sometimes I have a little trouble sleeping. And Dr. Lax would go, "Well, you had Quaaludes last month. How about Tuinol?" Yes. I mean, yes. 5 years go by. I saw him every month for 5 years. By this time, I had even more responsibilities and bigger accomplishments, bigger stations, and started K-Rock during that time, and things were really colorful and dramatic. And now I'm smoking 30 joints a day and taking speed and downers to take the edge off. And I decided, you know, I'm smoking too much grass. I should cut back. Maybe if I should have a cigarette now and then. People say, "I didn't know you smoked." Yeah, well, I don't really. You know, I could pick it up or put it down, stop anytime I want. But I'm smoking too much grass. So then I was smoking 2 packs of cigarettes a day and 30 joints. And one day in my studio in Hollywood, I had this studio in Hollywood that I opened up, and we had some coke, and we had some speed, and we had some grass, and all of a sudden I got my first anxiety attack. Now, unlike an acid attack, a bad acid trip, where at least you know that it's the acid. I'm having a bad response. I just have to wait until I come down. At least you know that. But when you're having an anxiety attack, it's like, oh, I went too far. I did go too far. This time I went too far and I broke my brain. I'm either going to be in a mental institution or I'm going to die now. And it's like your fingers are plugged into an outlet. And all you go is like, oh, please, God, make it stop. So my friend took me to Dr. Lax, who was horrified that I would have the audacity to show up with a bad experience and put his whole practice in jeopardy. So he let me sit in that operating room, that waiting room, for 2 hours in my anxiety attack and gave me nothing. And then he cut me off. So I did what any good, responsible drug addict would do. I turned to the streets. Crystal meth seemed like a good idea. All I wanted to do was to feel enthused and inspired all the time. That's not a lot to ask. It's not like I'm doing it to have fun. I had a peak experience on LSD, one really good one. And in that experience, I was sitting in Big Sur. I had learned to listen. And I'd been, sitting there in this lotus position, and the acid came on, and all of a sudden I experienced visions that made me realize there's something more to life than just this body and this born, live, and die experience. There's something more, and I've got to find out what it is, because it can't be that just the drugs that are telling me this. It's got to be something there. So as a consequence of that, I started studying, metaphysics and quantum physics and comparative religion and meditation and the occult and out-of-body travel and all of this kind of stuff. I wanted to know about this kind of thing. Meanwhile, I'm still consumed with all these drugs. So I learned the concept of meditation, and somewhere along the line I went, I got to stop using drugs. Duh. My life is a mess. So I stop. And I learn, I start meditating. And I meditate every day. And you know what happens? Your life gets better. Who knew? And I didn't drink and I didn't use drugs. And I wrote and things got better. Felt better in my body. But I didn't know about support programs. I didn't know about how this disease can surprise you. And a year went by. And then one day, a guy walked into my studio to do a big project for a big movie, and he laid down an ounce of pearly, flaky cocaine. And this ounce sat there pulsing. And he said, have as little or as much as you want, it's just for the work. I went, well, I don't do that anymore. I don't do that. And he said, you? Whoa, damn, God, good for you. Phew. God, how did you do that? How did you do that? I just wanted to meditate, and my life got better. He goes, wow, well, good, whoa, yeah, good for you. You don't mind if I have some? It's just for the work. It's just for the work. No, help yourself. But it was a long night. And after a couple of hours, my eyes would just kind of glance down now and then. And I thought, what would a needle line hurt? Just one little. So I carved one off, just a little one. I went, oh. Well, then I did two, because you have two nostrils. Then I had to do two more, because having attained a higher state of awareness, and now things were going a little bit faster, and we were solving all of the world's problems of really connecting. We were sharing our vibrations, and I had to sustain this elevated consciousness for an indefinite period of time, because we had a lot of responsibilities. So then I did, 4 more. And then I did 9 more, and then I did 25 more, and we worked through the night. And we got, honestly, we got a lot done. And so I bought an ounce of cocaine. And, I shared it with the crew. Like we were brothers. And, it was just for the work. And then, after a while, after some months, I started thinking, they should really get their own. What am I, Dad? So I would hold some back, and then I would hold a little more back. And then one night, going home, I had a house in Malibu up in the hills, and it was really quiet and a nice place. And I went home one night at midnight, and I drove into the garage, and I went to the to the bathroom for a couple of hours. And when I came out of the bathroom, I heard something outside the window. It sounded like this. So I went to the window and peeked. I didn't see anything, but just to be sure, I put sheets over the windows and the doors. Then, just to be safe, I realized that you can see silhouettes through sheets. So I put quilts over the sheets, over the windows and the doors. Then I realized you can see around the cracks around quilts. So I put nails at 1-inch intervals. I forgot. I didn't lose weight. I didn't lose weight on large doses of cocaine and crystal meth. I gained 50 pounds because I did everything. It started with just a little beer, and then it was a case of beer, and then it was, you know, I'm drinking too much beer. I've gained a little weight. 50 pounds of weight. I couldn't do anything, a little of anything, ever. And so I came up with a solution. A large cup, and you can use this when you go out. This is great. You fill the cup with ice, and then 1 capful of Canadian Club, and then the rest sparkling water, and it makes a delightful spritzer. And not only that, but it changes the chemical balance of your body and gives you a little bit of a softening. See? It takes the edge off. And then it was 2 caps. And then it was a glug. And then it was mostly Canadian Club and a little water just for the sparkle. And I had this with me 24 hours a day. I also got into guns. I had a 12-gauge shotgun, sawed-off shotgun, double-aught buck, a .45, and a mercenary gun, and that's the kind that sticks in your wallet, so that you know all those times when you're walking down the street and people they say, "Give me your wallet." I'm ready. And the truth was that I was terrified all the time. My life had become a living horror. I was always in fear. I was always paranoid. I was always looking over my shoulder. I was always sure there was somebody outside the door. And at this moment in time, my 50-pound overweight, steaming, toxin-filled bloat grabbed my 12-gauge and decided I should confront my destiny. And I stalked out to the side of the house and squatted down beneath the window. And I thought, either I've gone insane or there's someone out here. And after 10 minutes, I realized I'd gone insane. And then I heard a rustle in the bush. And I jumped up screaming, "Now you die, motherfucker!" And I ran through the bush with my 12-gauge and I looked. And they got away. So I went back to the bathroom to celebrate. So I smoked a little cocaine, had another couple of pills, had another drink, and rocked back down onto the floor. This is an attractive sight. A naked 50-pound overweight, steaming, bloated, filled, stinking Norwegian. My eyes rolled back, my tongue out, my head hitting the floor over and over again. And when I came to, I thought, that was a good hit. I should take a breather. Not that I should quit. Why would I? My doctor at this time told me that, and this is all true. I wish I could make up a story like this. This is like, my doctor said, if you're lucky, you're going to die. I don't think you're going to get out that easy. You are overweight. Your cholesterol is through the roof. Your blood pressure is through the roof. You've got so many toxins in you. You're out of control, and you're a time bomb. And any minute, you're going to have a heart attack or a stroke. Why don't you go to AA? Please. I'm not that bad. Christ. So I didn't stop. And I didn't stop until I had an overdose in my studio, and my friends found out about it, and they found me in there on a Saturday night and called my parents. And my parents were horrified. These innocent people who didn't drink, smoke, use drugs, curse, or fight. And they go, we had no idea. Maybe you should go to Betty Ford. Yeah, well, I was thinking that, really, I've been really working really hard, and really what I really need is a little rest and relaxation. I was thinking maybe I'd go to Hawaii, and then I would not do any drugs of any kind or any kind of drinking or anything. I would just relax, and I would get my head clear, and I would take up maybe skydiving, and then I would go up to 14,000 feet and plunge toward the earth, and the rush would be so intense that I would voluntarily want to give up drugs. My mother said, uh-huh. Maybe you should see a counselor. So I ended up at Scripps in La Jolla, and I went in there with fear, anxiety, doubt, and rage. I was humiliated that this is what I had become, and look at me. I was having success, and things were going great, and I'm just this guy in this mental institution. I don't know if I can get out, and I'll never have fun again, and I'll never be creative. And I met my roommate, and my roommate was crazier than me. He was just loved to do poetry, loved to write, loved to do art. And he was interesting and funny, and he made me laugh. And I went, well, I guess I'll stick around. It was weird. And he's still my best friend. And we were the hideous twins. We were voted least likely to succeed. Because you see, we had all the answers for you people. We weren't there for alcohol. We had a little cocaine problem that we were just trying to learn to use responsibly. And 2 weeks in, a counselor came to us and he said, I just got to share something with you. This is it. You don't have any other choices. There's no other program that works, has ever had any success of any kind anywhere in the world. The odds are against you. Your life isn't really going so well. Maybe you should just listen. Maybe there's an answer for you here. Maybe there's a solution for you. Maybe there's a way to go that you just never considered before. And if I were you, I would change my attitude. He said, I would get a sense of humor. He says, you got a lot of rage. He says, and if you don't have a sense of humor, the life gets tough. You better have a sense of humor about yourself, what you've been through, who you are, and where you're going, or you are fucked. And it was like a bell going off for me, and it was that's reasonable. And I got up the next morning and I started meditating. And I meditated the next day and the next day and the next day, and 23 and a half years have gone by, and I still do it. And my life started getting better. And when I left the hospital, I was terrified. I was coming back up here, and I knew where all the liquor stores were, and I knew where all the dealers were, and some of the dealers were close friends. And I knew who to call, and I could call them at any minute. And all I knew is that I couldn't. All I knew is that, I am painted as a victim. I am so fucked. This is so fucked. I hate this shit. Why me? So all I did was show up at these goddamn meetings. And I didn't like them. And I didn't want to be here, and I didn't want to hear keep coming back. It works one more goddamn time. And all I did was show up. And little by little, it started getting under my skin. I heard people say things that made me go, yeah, oh yeah, oh that's how it works, oh, wow. Okay, it's okay, so I just do nothing, oh, okay, and then I just go to meetings, and then what? Oh, and then get a sponsor? Oh man, ew. So I said to a guy, can I be a sponsor? He goes, yeah, just call me. So then we started calling, I started talking to him, and then he became my sponsor. And then, some time went on, and I was doing okay. And then one day I wasn't. One day it snapped. One day one button was pushed, and all of a sudden I could remember nothing. I could remember nothing about anything. And my brain said, yeah, well, see, yeah, well, see, I told you, yeah, well, see, yeah, you are fucked. You are stupid, you are pathetic, and this whole program is a lie. You know it's a lie, and this spirituality, where has it ever really gotten you anyway? You are fucked. And I tried to think of a name, and I tried to think of a number, and I tried to think of a meeting, and I couldn't think of anything. And the only thing I could remember was the name of that goddamn sponsor. And his number popped into my head. And I called him. He said, "Why don't you come over here?" So I went over there, and he goes, "Oh, yeah, you're in bad shape." He said, "Look, tell me about what's going on." So I told him what was going on, and then it lifted. You know, it was amazing. It lifted. And I started getting it. It was like one alcoholic helping another, one drug addict helping another. It's like somebody who understands what it's like and understands how dramatic it gets, is the only one who can really relate to you and what you're going through and how much chatter there is up there. And so we build up these habits that we do over and over and over again, that when things change, when things get challenging, we have a solution. And that gets us through the moment. And if we can get through the moment, we're okay. And as we get okay and a bunch of okays put together, life just gets better. And it did. I went on a doctor-supervised fast, and I lost 50 pounds. I went skydiving, faced my fears. Terrifying. It was really, really scary. I lived. And about a year later, a guy brought a girl to my studio, and he met her at the bank. Guy worked for me, and so I couldn't stop thinking about her. And you know, a year later, we got married, and we're still married. And you know, things just started inexplicably working. Things that I could never have planned for myself. Career things that grew out of nowhere and came from out of nowhere, got bigger than life, and then burst, and then ended, and things got really dramatic and difficult. And that's when the program is there. That's when all that repetition, when things start becoming challenging, and you go, I am out of control and I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do and I am in despair. I am in despair and I'm full of fear. I am full of doubt. I don't believe anything. I can't do anything. All I can think of is that I need a fucking break. And if that guy honks his horn at me one more goddamn time, I will drive into him again and again. So there's this thing about this spiritual program. It is a spiritual program. It just is. And that's what my whole sobriety is based on and why my life got inexplicably good beyond comprehension. My daughters are staggeringly beautiful. They're so, one daughter is a star of a television show that's on right now. And the other daughter is doing really well at Beverly Hills High School. They're just incredible people, and they've never seen me drunk, high, out of control, stupid, and pathetic. And I have one goal, and that is to have a conscious contact with God. And that's what it says in the 12 steps. Came to believe that a power greater than ourselves can relieve us from this insanity. And we have this trouble with God, this word God, based on all of our little thoughts about how we were raised, what we were exposed to. We have this little tiny glimpse of knowledge that our egos cling to and go, yeah, well, I don't believe in God because I don't believe in some, like, guy on a throne in heaven, and please, and all this, the parting of the seas, and they'll like lock on to these little stories, and that will be absolute conclusion that there can be no God. See, I made up my mind and I just can move on. Not because based on understanding, not because of experience, not because of, it's contempt prior to investigation. So I want to read for you this one thing. And this explains it better than anything for me and maybe for you as well. Swami Vivekananda brought Hinduism to America in the late 1800s. And he was brilliant beyond belief. And Swami Vivekananda said, why do we use the word God? Because there is no other word. It is the only word, the best word, in which is centered all the hopes, aspirations, and happiness of humanity. Great saints coined this word God. They realized its import and understood their meaning. This word God, when one understands it properly, by the power of laws of association, is associated with innumerable, majestic, and powerful ideas. It has been used and worshipped by millions of human souls who have associated with all that is highest and best, all that is rational, all that is lovable, all that is great and grand in human nature. In that one little word, God. And that's what we can do, make an absolute effort to make a conscious contact with God and turn it all over, and things happen. Life gets really good. And you go, how did I get here? I just don't know. All I did is I didn't drink, I didn't smoke, I didn't use drugs, I didn't fight, I didn't hold resentments. I did the things they told me how to do in the program. The program is a stepping stone. You've just got the tools that you need to make a magical life. And I hope you do. That's my story. I'm sticking to it. Thanks.